Chapter 6. Dorien held out his hand, and Jessie walked into his warm embrace, and he closed his arms around her, as she lay her head on his strong muscular chest. "I won't leave you. But I have to go out there. I have to save as many lives as possible. I wanted to tell you about the AI, and that he had betrayed you. All of us. But I was programmed to satisfy your sexual needs first, and the needs of the vessel last." She gazed into his eyes as she wrapped her arms around him, longing to feel what had transpired in his bed as they made love, and as she made love to him. Then he had been more than satisfied with her, and she cherished those moments when her sensation from his kisses over her body had brought her to heights of arousal she had never experienced before. He touched feelings throughout her that left no doubt that she was a woman and in love. But it was an awakening when Jessie discovered the truth about herself when Dorien left his cabin. It was then she discovered that she was a humanoid or android. Thalia had inadvertently, due to a computer malfunction, warned Captain Dorien that he could no longer sleep with the AI because she was a danger to him and to the ship. Thalia made it known that something was seriously wrong, and he had to isolate Jessie. It was the artificial intelligence engineer who was causing trouble between the two of them. Dorien looked down at Jessie and saw her small, innocent face. She didn't ask for this, and she didn't warrant to be treated in an inhuman way. He wrapped his arms around her small body. She heard his heartbeat. Her heart hummed in rhythm with his. They were one again. She had first heard her heart connect with his when she first slept with him. It was then she realized what was happening to her, and who and what she really was, but she was still not convinced until Thalia went haywire and blurted it out. "The AI sabotaged the ship for the Voltas," Jessie said, looking up into Dorien's suffering eyes. "Those despicable creatures. They are inhuman. A subspecies. They have enormous appetites. They have destroyed their own planet, and now they are after Earth and its animals," Dorien said. "It is the human species they have set their sights on for food, and the aliens for labor. That's why I have to go," Jessie said. "But why would the AI sell us out to those creatures? What is it in for him? He didn't need anything that we couldn't provide. He did it because as much as he wanted to be human, he could never be, and he hated humans for creating him and giving him a life but not true life." "How do you know this?" Dorien questioned, his eyes narrowing, still not understanding, because he could never understand. He could never be one of them. He was a superior being that could feel and think and die. AIs could only think. That was until Jessie was created. She was the latest models of AIs, and like Dorien's ship, they were one of a kind. She had been given all the senses humans possessed. "I'll go with you," Dorien said, walking away to tell McMasters. She pulled at his arm. "You have to stay with your ship. If you desert the ship, you can be court-martialed." "I don't care." "You have to care. If you lose this ship, there are no others in the galaxy. The Earth, as well as all the planets in this galaxy and beyond, depend on this ship. It is this one vessel that keeps humanity alive. And if you die, I die with you. If I die, you can still live." "Humanity can live," Jessie said, because she had been programmed to believe that her only use was to serve Dorien. He pushed her hair back to see her young, innocent face and large eyes. She had not aged, and when he ages she will still be that young woman. It wasn't fair. But then what is fair anymore? There are thousands of his males and females drifting around in pods, and soon they will be captured and used as slaves or food for the most contemptible creatures in the southern universe. Much to Dorien's dismay, he had to admit that Jessie was right. "If you must go, take the captain's shuttle. But it has only 2 seats. One for my co-pilot." That was to be you. He had planned on asking Jessie to marry him, and they would honeymoon on Ovid. The longer he tried to stay away from her, the hotter the flame of desire burned inside of him, until one night, after being up for hours there, she appeared as if he had willed her in his time of need. Thoroughly exhausted on his way to his cabin, there she stood, her blonde hair flowing down her back. In her eyes he could see that she needed him as much as he needed her. Neither had sought warmth from anyone else. Neither had slept with anyone on the ship in those 5 years. Dorien thought affectionately of that evening when they came together. "I won't be needing the shuttle anymore," he said with a closed smile, and his face and voice yielding to reality. "It has a closed hovercraft inside to protect you from the elements. You can use it when you set down on a planet." "I don't need its protection," she said, placing her hand on his slight beard and rubbing it in a gentle downward motion. Gazing at her, he said, "Oh yes. I forgot." His face warm and loving. His eyes smiled when he could not. Jessie gazed up at the man she had fallen in love with, and was tethered to him by the ship. She would know if something had befallen him, because she would have a few moments when his heart stopped beating, and before her heart terminated its rhythm after his had died. A few moments to cherish her short time with Dorien, and then she would no longer be able to feel anything. "Don't die. Whatever you do, don't die now, Dorien." Jessie looked up at Dorien, her eyes glossy, her voice bursting with sadness, and although she wanted to cry, she couldn't. Not because she couldn't bring on tears, but because she didn't want to weaken Dorien's resolve and sap his strength. He would need all of it to save everyone and save the Star Splitter. Dorien looked forlorn, and then his captain's calm, cold demeanor crossed his face, and he had to make himself feel nothing and rationalize that after all, Jessie was just a robot, not a robot but an android, but nevertheless she couldn't feel anything. She had been programmed to feel. For Dorien to function and say goodbye to Jessie, he had to make himself believe that she had no feelings, because the way his emotions for her were welling up, he could be destroyed if he thought too much about her drifting around in space. He convinced himself that even though he would never see her again, he could take heart that she was alive. If in her travels she came across that star they were sent to split, he would consider her a mere sacrifice by fire. The way they once did years ago on Earth. A sacrifice where others could live. Someone had to be the one. She was it because the others needed him. He made a sacrifice too because he had given the greatest sacrifice of all, the one female made for him who he would love forever, and never take another to replace her.